Well, I think why now is because this time these sectors are threatened with cuts in the future, and now is the time before an election for these parties to get their case across. They're really pseudo-public sector or public sector employees, and they know that the future is going to be very tough for them, and if they don't take advantage of the situation as it is today, then it will probably be very much more difficult under a new government to take advantage.
And there is some historical basis to this, isn't there, in terms of looking back over history?
Oh, most certainly. We've only got to look back to the winter of discontent in 1979, shortly before a change of government, when the public sector really seemed to have a death wish. They were quite happy to more or less overturn the public sector, put enormous strain on some of the poorest people in society, all to try and get an advantage, which in the long run, of course, only lent to higher unemployment. And I think they're in real danger of doing that again. We just cannot afford strikes and higher pay in these sectors under the current conditions.
And how important is the timing of the general election in what we're seeing now, do you feel?
Well, I think it's very important because clearly at the next election people are going to be looking very carefully at what the present government and the opposition are offering in terms of cuts in public expenditure, and it seems almost certain there are going to be cuts, and if there are cuts they're going to fall on public sector employment, and that I think is why we are seeing this sort of activity at this time in those sectors.
Sean Rickard, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Now, in the past few minutes, it's been announced that the great train robber, Ronnie Biggs, is being freed from his prison sentence.
Yes, the Justice Secretary, Jack Straw, says he's releasing Biggs on compassionate grounds. He's recently been struck by a spate of ill health. Well, let's join the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital now, where Sally Rourke is right now. Sally.
Yes, we've just heard that news that Ronnie Biggs is to be freed. Of course, he's really only a freed man on paper because physically he's far from that. Tonight, he's inside the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital in a bed, a very, very sick man. Now, this news comes against this backdrop that last month Jack Straw said that he would refuse parole, saying that Biggs was wholly unrepentant. But tonight, just a few minutes ago, he gave us this statement. He said the medical evidence clearly shows that Mr. Biggs is very ill and that his condition has deteriorated recently and is therefore not expected to improve. Therefore, he will be released on compassionate grounds. So how sick is Mr. Biggs? Well, earlier I spoke to his son, Michael Biggs, who told me that he was still severely ill with pneumonia in hospital. But don't forget, he can't eat, talk or walk, and that there are still 3 guards around his bed. It's not thought that he'll be released, actually, in fact, until tomorrow. Just to remind you a little bit of the history of Biggs, because this weekend it's the anniversary of that great train robbery, which happened in 1963, of course, when Biggs and the thieves took £2.4 million. Biggs then fled to Brazil. This weekend is also, however, Biggs's 80th birthday. So what news for his family at this time? Quite what Ronnie Biggs will know about this news and how physically he'll react, well, we really don't know. As I said, he's still got 3 guards around his bed and won't be released until tomorrow. The only thing that is a certain tonight for Ronnie Biggs is that he is free.
Sally, for now, thanks very much. Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge made more than £2.8 million from car parking fees last year, according to new figures out. That's more than any other hospital in the country. The research by the Liberal Democrats showed the Cambridge Hospital generated nearly £2 million from charging visitors. The rest of the money came from charging staff. This region's next highest earner was the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital at Colney. That made more than £1.7 million from parking fees. Well, it's 13 minutes past 6. This is Anglia Tonight.
Still to come, the men in